Well, good morning and welcome. Yes, it is still morning. Good morning and welcome to part two of. I've called it at the moment. I can change it, but lots of questions, so many questions, and not enough answers at the moment. And is that how you would sum it up at the moment, Mr. Peters?
Well, before I sum that up, you've just because we had a short delay, I ended up getting sunstroke.
Well, I don't know, mate.
You know, I'm a beacon head. You know,
You were singing to me. Go on, just give us a. You said about Billy Paul. Give us a bit of Billy Paul.
only the strong survive. Only the strong survive.
You were singing "Glory Again" to me about 2 seconds
I
ago.
know I can't sing the glory again. I can't
I
sing
will
anything really,
survive.
but I'll give it a go. Look, I'm game for anything, me.
We were even talking about how in our presentation we're going to have it via Zoom, aren't we? We're all going to get suited and booted and have a presentation evening on Zoom.
Well, yeah. Well, you said that, yeah. So we'll have to start planning that over at weekend, I think. Yeah.
And everyone's got to get up and give us a sing song.
Yeah. Well, we have some good, decent singers in the group, but they usually
So,
can only sing stuff like the Man United theme tune. What is it? Woke up this morning, I'm feeling fine. Got Baker Burra on my mind. There you go. I won't sing the rest.
anyway, going back to what we were chatting about in part one of the Sports Bar Show this morning, Brent, we're talking about Lawrence Jones and decision making or lack of decision making. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, look. If you're a leader, you know you've got to have leadership. It's no use following. It's no use waiting for other people to see what they're doing and then you follow on. A leader's a leader. That's what it says. If you look at the definition, what a leader is, he's a leader. He takes the lead. And I don't think this the leagues that's headed by Lawrence Jones, if it is headed by Lawrence Jones, is taking the lead. Because I'm sorry, but if I was in that position, for the benefit of all the clubs, throughout England, from steps outside the conference national, so from steps 3 right the way through to step 7, we've got a responsibility there, or they've got a responsibility. So, in my opinion, I would be seeking regular updates, having dialogue with the Ministry of Sport, and trying to get as much information coming from him via the government as possible, so that I'd be able to filter back to the leagues and give them information of when we see things happening or when's the earliest. Because at the minute everybody's kind of guessing and thinking, and everybody's gearing as though it's going to start again in August, and that's what everybody's planning for. But I don't see it. But I hope I'm wrong. I massively hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see it, because I can't see with what's happening and what's coming out when you listen to the TV bulletins. I just don't see it. Now, if somebody came out and said to us as a non-league fraternity and said, "Listen, cards on the table. We're not on the 2020-21 season. We're not going to be able to let anybody into the grounds until January. So that's the first time basically you can play any competitive matches. If we had that indication, then you sort your stall out accordingly. I could do loads, like for instance, here at Bacup Borough, we've got plans in the pipeline for redevelopment of our clubhouse, our facilities. We've got plans in the pipeline to do a development over behind the Farm Avenue goals, and we'd be able to comfortably be able to say to the contractor, you can start. He might turn around now at the minute because they're in kind of lockdown. All right, well we can't start that until, let's say, for instance, August, when the season's usually starting, and we go, well, hang on, we can't. That's no good to us, because we're
Yeah.
starting the season. But if we don't know, if we know that the season's not going to start in August, or it's not going to start in September or October or November or December, then at least we can plan. What's the point of even trying to organise pre-season games in July, and they're kind of not going to happen.
Well, I was just going to come to that. No club is going to start spending brass that they haven't got until they know that they're going to be kicking on come August time. Otherwise, they're going to keep hold of the brass as long as possible, and then when they know that there's going to be a league campaign, then they'll start spending. But it might all be rush at the end. Because they might turn around and say, "Yeah, you're going to start the season," but then we're because we've been sitting back for so long, we could be 2 months behind where we need to be.
All I'm saying is there should be some directive. It's no good listening to what's going on with the Barclays Premier League. I mean, they can't get there. I mean, I've listened to a great interview this morning, just briefly, with Gary Neville on Sky on when they're doing their the sports bar show, not the sports bar show. Listen, to me, the Sky show, the sports show.
There's only
Uh,
one sports bar show, sir.
Exactly, but there he run and he talked a lot of sense this morning. Gary Neville, to Jamie Carragher, going on about what should happen, but he's talking about the Barclays Premier League clubs, and he's talking about the EFL clubs, and obviously down to the conference, national. Now the game's bigger and wider than that, and so we can't, if we're not governed by the same body, which we're not, then the body that is governing us, in my opinion, have to take the lead and give the clubs and the leagues as much updates as they can. It's no surprise that I'm not being funny from a situation 2 weeks ago where I were getting flooded with emails left, right, and centre. They've gone quiet. It's like everybody's gone to ground at the minute now because with the season's finished. It's nil and void. That's it. We're cancelling everything. It's all gone quiet. But
Yeah,
surely somebody's got to take the lead,
yeah.
and I'm not.
We need that guidance.
We need the guidance. We need the person. And if I've got to be guided what I'm saying. But if this Lawrence Jones and co, are they supposed to be the leaders of the national game away from the professional game? If they're in charge, for goodness sake, take the lead. Speak to the sports minister. Get regular updates. Give the clubs regular updates. So we're not in the dark. Everybody's in the dark, and it's criminal. It's bonkers. It's ridiculous.
Well, it is because we've touched upon it a few times. You can't plan anything. You can't do anything until we know where we're heading and where we're going.
Everybody's making arrangements as though it's going to kick off in August. Now I don't see it because there's supposed to be another wave coming in November, which I only heard on Wednesday again and clarified it. There's supposed to be another wave coming in, and I know they will probably relax the lockdown. They can't do the economics of the country. They
Yeah,
have to get people back into work sooner rather than later because it's going to have a serious detrimental effect on the
yeah.
economy.
They're going to take the lockdown away, but there'll still need to be that the distancing rules will still apply.
Correct. And if they're not opening the stadiums, this is my point. My final point on this is if they're not opening the football league stadiums and they're not seen to be opening them until the new year, you know, then there's no chance they're not going to allow people. Surely, for goodness, it's defeating the object. They're not going to allow people to come in a non-league ground. It's the same principle. In fact, it'll get quadrupled because, like we talked on before, people will get the football fix. If they can't go and watch Burnley, if they can't watch Man U, if they can't watch City, they're going to watch the nearest non-league team.
Yeah. Well, I'm just reading something on the BBC Sports website. The viewers can see this. The National League Board will meet on Friday to discuss the next steps after deciding to end their regulation season earlier this week. In addition to discussing whether it is feasible to continue with the playoffs, the board is expected to provide a few options which will determine how teams conclude the campaign. And there's an article on that, and that's by Ian Dennis, BBC Radio 5 Live senior football reporter. So hopefully things might be a little bit clearer come next week.
Yeah, but that's not. I disagree with that, Steve. Because why will it be clearer for us? That's only talking about trying to wrap the season up at the conference level. Are trying to do about the playoffs and what they're doing and who's going to get promoted and who's not going to get promoted or whatever. That's not talking about. That's not talking about what we're doing for next season. That's not talking about what. Look, in anything that you do, in any walk of life that you do anything, there's got to be a means to an end. A means to an end. So if there's a means to an end, we need to know where we're gearing to. For goodness sake, somebody make decisions. You know, it's all right. Look, is it going to happen in August? Chances are it's not going to happen in August. I'm not being funny. Next week, are we? Next week, we're in May.
We're in May, and
So we're not. It's not going.
there's
It's not
nothing filtering through at the moment.
correct. There's nothing filtered. So that statement is nothing to do with what we're talking about. That statement is
That's just
purely and simply about the conference national that have just ended up their season and how are they going to implement like our crackpot way of doing it you know from the Mr. Jones and his cronies was to do nil and void, and they said that all the teams voted on nil and void, which is totally bonkers because that never happened, and it's a lie because that never happened. Because as Paul Lawler said, you know, he was in on that conference call, and there was no mention of any voting of whether it were a points per game or null and void. So that has been hurried through the powers that be at the FA to get sanctioned, and they've kind of told. I won't go as far as saying they've told lies, but they've. Let's put it this way. I'll be a bit more polite about it. They've kind of stretched the truth.
Yeah.
Right? They've kind of stretched the truth to the FA, and now the FA are being put on the spot by barristers and solicitors by asking several points that they've not even give the answers yet to the points. We've seen that letter and well-documented letter from that solicitor in Leeds, and they haven't answered them questions because they can't answer. I think they've got to be guarded what they say because somewhere along the line there's got to be an inquiry in how they've conducted it.
I think the clubs were just concerned the way that the process has been done. This doesn't seem to be a bit of a I don't know.
Well, it's like people are saying now. People are saying that it should be done, you know, all the way through, all over football should be all done exactly the same.
Exactly the same from the top to the bottom.
Correct, but it hasn't been done like that, and it's been not conducted like that. And what's gone on, be it for me to say, and until somebody proves me that I'm chewing the fat and talking balls. It's been done. It's been done in an unscrupuled, underhanded way by saying nil and void the season and rushing it through and saying that we've all voted on it. No, we haven't. Even the vote that to be fair to Lancashire Football Association, right? When he put it out there, you know, the chief executive to the member clubs of the which way they wanted to go to the member clubs, but even that was rushed. And you know, I get an email at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're already doing something, and I had to be back at me. I had to be prepared for this conference call at something like I think it was 1:30, 1 o'clock, and even that even though it was done right democratically, right, but it was only done for the Lancashire clubs. What about the Merseyside clubs? What about the Cheshire clubs? What about all the other clubs from the other FAs? So it's been an absolute shambles, and the shambles comes from the people that's running the national game, which is Lawrence Jones and his cronies, and they need answerable. We need answers, and that's what people like South Shields and Lower Breck and everybody answer these points, and they can't answer them. They don't answer them, you know. But all I'm saying, we've moved on a little bit from that. Although that won't go away, what we need to do now, we can't just sit here not doing anything.
Not knowing what the
we
future
need to know where we're going. You know, this is how bad it is. I told you on the podcast earlier a few seasons ago. You know, we started a football season. I remember it's only 3 seasons ago. We started a football season, and no club knew what they're aiming for because they hadn't made a decision. And they hadn't got a clue, and we'll sort it out. It's a shambles. It's an absolute, believe me, Steve, it's an absolute shambles. And the trouble is, nobody will stand up to these people and be determined that we want answers to the points. But here now, going forward, I think while Lawrence Jones is in the position that he's in, he should be the one that stands up and be countered. He should be getting in touch with it. He's got in an ideal position to get in touch with the sports minister. I know the sports minister, let's be honest, won't be able to tell him a lot, but he'll be able to tell him something. And if he's forceful with it and say, look, in realistic terms, do you think we'll be able to kick off in August? If he turns round to the sportsman and says, it's not happening, you're not going to kick off in
Yeah.
August, then
Then you
at
can
least he
filter
can
that
report back.
information
He
down to
can
the club.
report back to the clubs and say to them, you're not kicking off in August
Yeah.
because we've got it from the sportsman. So we have to look at. So is it realistic that we kick off in November? Well, no, because there's another virus gonna another wave's gonna come through. So we're really looking at Well, really, you are. So then everybody can gear to that. But why are we planning now for a new season? That might not start January. So if we look at it today, right, everybody's planning as though it's going to start in August, and for me, with what's happening at the top level, it ain't going to start in August.
Yeah.
But we need to know. All of the points I'm trying to make is we need answers to our questions. And if he wants to be a leader, it's all right being a leader and doing unscrupled things like not letting step 5 and 6
Yeah.
clubs vote on
And
something,
casting vote.
and then rushing things through, it's been a shambles because people are up in arms because they've null and voided a season. But then there's another thing. That's one thing. But for goodness sake, take the league now going forward and keep giving us regular updates, because all we are, well, I can only speak for me at Bacup Borough. I'm in the bleeding dark. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. I haven't got a clue.
And everyone's exactly the same. We'll probably come back to that in the coming weeks, I'm sure. But moving on, you were telling me something earlier regarding Bury Football Club and the possibilities with Bury Football Club, Brent.
Well, I've heard from a very, very good source that the owner of Bury Football Club, as approached on the deadline day, which was the 31st of March, has approached our friend Mr. Jones, that the showing an interest that they wanted to be placed into the national league. So that in my opinion, whether you look, let's cut away from this, because everybody can have opinions about people who own a football club and who's behind it, and you know and unless they 100% know the full extent of anything that's gone on, they shouldn't really be commenting on it. I'm not all fair with what's gone on. All I know is that everything that has gone on, that where everybody was saying in the press that Bury Football Club would be wound up, and Bury Football Club owed all this money, and they're in serious jeopardy with the tax people. None of that's happened. None of that's happened. It's come to fruition the tax owed Bury Football Club, so they haven't been wound up. And I've said it all along. Whilst that club is still alive as a business, as a company, and it's still there, then absolutely no way can there really be a Phoenix club, because the club hasn't died. It's like trying to it's like trying to bury somebody then they're still alive.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So at the end of the day, Bury Football Club, and in all fairness, if they can sort the stall out, no disrespect to the people who's behind the Phoenix Club, I understand the reasons why they kind of did it, because they want football in Bury.
Yeah.
I get that. 100%. But if Bury Football Club, as a football club, that's been there for well over 100 and whatever years it is in their history, they've got to remain. And sooner or later, when this is all done and dusted, who knows, the person who owns the club might you know, step away, or whatever. I don't know. Listen. The guy might be. There's people call people out there on social media, and they don't even know the person, or they don't know them fully, and they don't know all they're shouting and shooting from the hip, and they don't know excuse me, the full extent of things. I wouldn't even like to get in the realms of that. I wouldn't know the owner. I've heard of him, and I've heard about him, but I'll form my own opinion whenever I ever I come across him, and if we have to cross swords, I'll form my own opinion. But as at this moment in time, he's the owner of Bury Football Club, and as far as I'm led to believe, he has done the rightful thing. He has approached the National League system with a view to having Bury Football Club placed into the National League. Wherever they go, I don't know. That's up to the powers that be. But they have made that inroads, and the club is still alive and kicking. And for me, if that club can stay alive and kicking and get placed in the
Brilliant.
in the league, then then happy days.
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. And you're right, Brent. If the club can stay alive, and if it is National League football, then it's brilliant just to have the team still operating in Bury. I think Brent has frozen there. He's frozen on me after he's dropped his camera. I'm hoping to get him back at some point if he is still. Are you still there, Brent? Are you still there? It looks like we have lost him. I'm going to try and get the contact back with Brent very shortly.